So I don't know about you guys, but I need to check in. I need to talk about goal setting, consistency again, and all things future you because it's almost 2026. It's almost 2026, which is so crazy. So let's just talk about it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cozy and Thriving. I'm your host, Michaela, and this is a podcast where we just learn to build a life that we actually want to be present for, whether that is entrepreneurship, podcasting, content creation, business, or just day-to-day life. I think that this applies to all areas of it. So we have like 6 weeks left of 2025 and we're going into 2026, which is so crazy. I was born in 1995, so it makes me sound so old when you say 1990 anything, but it's just so crazy. It's absolutely insane how fast this year went by. But I feel like it was a good year. It was a year of growth and learning and pivoting and just all the things. But I feel like I want to establish what is going to be happening in 2026 and going into 2026 with like a clear plan, a clear vision, and like an anti-hustle plan, because we're not hustling, we're not burning out. So we're going to make 2026 the happiest and healthiest and coziest season and year of our lives yet, and it's only going to get better and better as we grow. So before I get into all of that, I want to talk about just a little bit about where I've been this year and just kind of the things that I've been struggling with in terms of like the Future You project and the goals and everything that I have set for myself. Like I said, this year was a year of growing and pivoting and building. I started my business this year. I started my podcast this year. I have been on this like content creator journey and realizing what I like to create and what I don't like to create and all the things. Like it's just been a year of pivoting, growth, and trial and error. And I feel like going into 2026, I'm going to have a clearer vision of what I want to do and how I want to show up online. And I hope, like me telling you this, is like, I hope that you who have been following along for the Future You and just been following along for this podcast, I hope that it has grown you in some way to just look at things a little bit differently and to not hustle and to find your groove and your rhythm and your plan, because everybody's is different. But behind the scenes of all of that and all of me growing and doing all the things, I have been on this, what I call a silent grind, where I am just trying to pump things out because that's what I see everybody else doing. I'm trying to go because that's what society is telling us to do. And society's not telling us to sit down and rest. And so the times that I was sitting down and resting, except for on Sundays, if you know, you know, I do not work on Sundays, for those of you who are new. But if I rested or did anything else, I would just kind of feel like bad about it. Like I would just be like, I could be finishing up client work, but instead I'm watching a show, or I could be planning out my next podcast episode, but instead I want to go shopping, or like whatever the case is, like just to take a break from work I felt kind of guilty for it. I felt like I could have been further in my career if I didn't rest. I could have been like having more followers, or like I would have gotten to the place that I am now and like how I'm thinking about my career and how I'm thinking about my life and everything if I would have done more earlier. And that literally goes against everything that I talk about on this podcast. It literally does. And so that's just kind of what I've been struggling with. So going into 2026, I want to make sure that that mindset is shifted. That mindset never comes back, because rest is good. And I've talked about this since the start of my podcast, that rest is literally good for you. The other day, I was actually wallpapering one of my walls and I was like, I need a podcast to listen to. And so I ended up listening to my podcast from first episode to like almost recent, and just like listening to the growth, listening to what I was talking about, listening to how I've evolved. But one of the episodes that I did was about rest, and I actually was like talking about scientific reasons why we should rest. Like it's biological why we should rest. And that was a cool episode, but it just kind of like reminded me that it's not a bad thing. It's not something that I have to feel guilty for doing. And I want to put that as a reminder for this episode that we should be resting and we should be prioritizing that rest and putting rest into the rhythms of our life because it is so necessary. So I wanted to talk about that before like going into the entirety of this episode because it's just a good thing to remember, just that we need to rest. So I want to talk about redefining the future you and kind of like making this mindset shift because I felt like the future you was good. It was amazing. I hopefully gave you guys so many tools to use to like help to build to your future self. But because it was so much, I almost feel like we were striving for perfection instead of bettering ourselves. And so what I want this like mindset shift to be for you is that the biggest burnout factor is trying to reach a perfect version of yourself and not just a better version. So that means that instead of striving to become everything that you've put on your future you notebook or vision board or the Notion template that I sold or I still sell, it's still on my Beacon store if you want it. Instead of trying to reach everything you put on that and be like this perfect version of you, just try to become a better version of you. It's going to, one, take off so much pressure, and it's not going to burn you out because you're not trying to do 10 million little steps every single day to try to get to that person. You are really just transforming into this better version of yourself. And to be honest, we're never going to reach a perfect version of ourselves. If we're striving for perfection, we are never going to get there because there's always going to be things that are changing. There's always going to be things that you want to do and things that you want to change, and you're going to grow in different aspects. So your like future is always going to pivot and it's always going to like change and look different, and you're going to want different things. But if you're just bettering yourself, if you're just becoming a better version of yourself and allowing yourself to grow every single day, you're not going to get burnt out trying to be this person. You're not going to be hustling trying to be this person. You're not going to be chaotic trying to be this person. You are just literally allowing yourself to grow. You're allowing yourself to be okay with not getting certain things just because you put it on your future you board. I personally was trying to add so many things to my business while also being a content creator, while also being a podcaster, and it left me lacking in my health, my wellness, my family, my home, my relationships, all of that, because I was trying to become this future you person and have this future career and this good career and this good podcast. And while I'm not letting go of the podcast, this is my literal like baby. I love it so much. But because I was trying to do all those things, I was lacking in other things that I honestly put more priority on. And I honestly weigh them like higher in value than my job or my career or my podcast. And so there was things that had to pivot and change, and I learned so much about myself, and I learned what I like to create, what I don't like to create, what I want to be doing for my business and what I don't want to be doing for my business. And with all of that and with like all the changes and thoughts and learning and growing, I've come to a realization of like what I actually want to do. And that meant letting go of some things. And so in my future you, like at the beginning of the Future You series, my goal was to become a full-time content creator by the end of 2025. And while I don't think that I'm there, well, I know I'm not there, I actually don't want that anymore. I'm using content creation as a means to fuel my business and to grow my podcast, and that's it. I don't want to be a content creator in the sense of like vlogs and getting PR packages and all of these things. And like, while that's yet nice, yes, I would love to review some stuff. That's not my main goal. My main goal is to grow my podcast and my community and have a community of people, because it's no longer about me. It's about helping and serving other people. So when we were doing this Future You and writing all these things down, we ended up with this like 500 step goal of like how to get there. And even if you weren't doing things daily, you were just writing things out of like when you wanted to get there, and when you not when you wanted to get there, but what you wanted to do or what you wanted to be when you got there. There was no like in between step. And so there was this pressure to like be like, okay, I have to figure out the steps on the in between. And then you come up with this 500-day step. So like if I was like, I want to get up at 5 a.m. every single morning to start like praying and reading my Bible and then working out and doing all the morning things that I like to do. If I didn't make a plan to get there and I'm waking up at 7, I was like, you know what, next week I'm gonna start waking up at 5. That's a whole 2 hours early, and a whole 2 hours that I know would catch up to me later that I'm not 100% prepared for. So in my mind, I would start making steps like, okay, next week I'm gonna start getting up at 6:55, and I'm gonna start doing this right away, and then I'm gonna start doing that right away and doing this right away. And there's like all of these steps to get to the 5 a.m. instead of like just being like, okay, here's my one goal. This is the one goal that I want to get to, because I know it's going to better me as a person because of the things that I want to fill within those 2 extra hours in the morning, instead of it being just, I want to get up at 5 a.m. for the sake of getting up at 5 a.m. So now let me watch all these fitness gurus and all these people that get up at 5 a.m. giving you tips and tricks and all these things, and they're not working. It's literally because it works for them and not you. And so you have to find the things that work for you. And that's what the Future You project is about. Bettering yourself, learning what works, growing, and allowing yourself to grow. So I know I've mentioned on this podcast before, and I've talked about it before, but my biggest priority in relationships is my relationship with God. And so within this connection, I wanted to like just share a little bit about what that looks like with God, because I truly believe that without him, I couldn't do any of this. And so we weren't meant to carry our futures alone. The Bible literally tells us that God has a plan for us and knows the future. So when we try to do everything ourselves, we're essentially trying to like outplan God. So literally slowing down and having rest and taking rest is an act of faith and trust in God, in life, in everything. It's an act of trust. And so slowing down is not a bad thing. Slowing down is letting go of control. And sometimes we need to let go of control. And I just thought that was a good little tidbit to put in there, because I truly couldn't do this without God. I truly couldn't do anything that I do without him, or without him to lean on. I wouldn't know what to do. Okay. So now that I've kind of talked about defining Future You, and now that you've let go of perfection, hopefully let go of that perfection, okay? I want to talk about 3 steps that we can have and take for consistency, just going forward. They're super simple, super easy, and I believe that this is going to help us grow for 2026. This is going to help us when we go to goal set for 2026. This is just going to help us all around. So the first one is having a daily check-in. Okay, keep your goals in mind. Think about your goals, keep them in the forefront of your mind. And even if it's not every single goal you have, because yes, we can have a lot of goals, but it can get overwhelming if we're trying to think about all of them, I would say prioritize them, or just like whatever the goal is, like say your goal is a monthly goal, keep that goal in mind every single month. But say your other goal is like 5 years out, keep that in mind like weekly, but don't think about it every single day because if you're thinking about it every single day, on top of the little goals every single day, it's going to get overwhelming. It's going to burn you out. And it's also that striving for perfection and not just bettering yourself. I think that if we can better ourselves over in one goal or in one area, it's going to make it easier for us to get to the next one. So for example, this is one that ChatGPT gave me because I asked ChatGPT to give me some examples. It said, don't just visualize a mansion, visualize how future you feels when she wakes up, when she sets boundaries, and how she rests. Okay, so this will take less than 5 minutes just to think about it. So, for instance, I have a 4-year plan to buy my dream car. I'm not going to go into all the details of the plan just because it's irrelevant for today, but I have a 4-year goal to get to my dream car. And if I just like visualize it, I'm not just like seeing the car, because yes, I can see the car. I can see myself driving it. I've gotten into one, all the things, but how I feel when I'm driving it. I'm going to feel so cool coming around the corner in a big Ford Bronco instead of like my Kia Optima, which I love. I love my little Optima, but I miss being in a bigger vehicle. I'm going to feel accomplished. I'm going to feel like I finally set my mind on something and I follow the plan through. I am thinking about all of these things instead of just the object itself, because it teaches so much more about me than just getting the thing or just reaching the goal or just reaching whatever that aspect is of the future you that you have put forward. This is going to help fuel consistency, and it's also going to do it without demanding a bunch of energy. You literally just get to think about how you feel. I earlier this year went and actually got into a Ford Bronco, and I made a video about it when I did it, just as like just getting into my dream car and seeing myself driving it and everything. And so I was able to actually experience the feeling of that and like being in the car and driving it. I actually didn't drive it because it wasn't the exact one that I wanted, but I was able to just like actually experience it. So now when I think about the Bronco and when I see other people driving it and seeing it on the roads and stuff, I get that feeling and I understand the feeling. And so then I now am like, yes, I'm going to get that car. Yes, I'm going to do everything that I can to get that car. And it just makes it fun. It makes it fun to think about. So like I said, it takes 5 minutes. It's not demanding your energy. It's very simple in a way to just kind of keep your goals in mind and to keep your goals in the forefront of your day. Okay, so the second thing is breaking down your goals. And there's this principle that I actually just like adopted, and it's the week by week method instead of the like daily schedule. So like things that you're trying to do daily. So instead, what I would do if I was trying to reach a goal, let's use my car since I've been talking about it. If my goal is to get a car, is to get the dream car without a car payment or a very little car payment, what I need to do is actually save money specifically for the car. So what I would do, instead of being like, okay, I need to make this much money this day, and I need to set this much aside each day, and out of every single client payment, I'm going to take this much and set it aside. Instead of doing all of that, what I would do is basically at the beginning of the week, look at what income is coming in, what income is going out, and seeing how much I can save in that week, instead of it being this like, I have to save $200 every single week, because as an entrepreneur, it fluctuates. Okay, your income fluctuates so much because you're losing clients, you're gaining clients. Sometimes it's just like a lull period where you're not getting paid at all. So there are times where I won't be able to save the amount that I would have put on my list to save that month because I'm an entrepreneur. So I look at the week ahead, say this much is coming in. This is the amount that I want to put aside for the car. And it could be less than the week before, and it could be a lot more than the week before. It just depends. So hopefully that makes sense. Just doing it like week by week. So yeah, this will help like remove all of that guilt. And again, it's planning for the progress and not planning for perfection. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you get it, and hopefully it helps. And the last step is to audit your time for alignment. Consistency definitely requires time and energy, and we often waste our energy on things that don't align with our future you. And what I mean by that is we set all these goals and all of these things that we want to be and things that we want to have and all the things. Like we just set all of these things for our future you, but then we go and do things for our current selves. So I used this example before, but instead of like going and getting like this designer bag, or instead of going and getting the newest baddest gadget or whatever, I use what I have because I'm trying to get to a car. I'm trying to get to my dream car, and I'm trying to do it in a specific way. I'm not trying to do XYZ right now if it means that I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer for my car, unless you're willing to wait a little bit longer for that thing. But you're supposed to be keeping your future you in mind and the better you in mind. Maybe that's what we should start doing, the Better You Project. That might be the next series, the Better You Project. But instead of like focusing on ourselves now, we're focusing on that future. We're focusing on getting to the better version of ourselves. Yes, I like that. Okay, so what I would suggest doing is spending 30 minutes this week or every single week and just auditing where your time is like actually going. This could be like just something that you do right now, or it could be something that you do weekly. But I think now if you do this before 2026, you'll be able to then start to like pivot and figure out what you actually need to be doing and where your time needs to be spent. And that could be that you're resting a little bit too much. And when you rest a little bit too much, it becomes laziness and procrastination. But it could be that you're not resting enough, and so you need to move your time to rest more. But wherever your time is spent, audit it, figure out if it's going to be beneficial to the betterment of yourself, or if it is just serving you at your current self. So that is all that I have for you today. I hope that this helped. I feel like I have been checked in with. I feel like this is something that is super easy to do, and that it's something that is doable for this week, where we can start to do the things to get to our goals week by week and like listing those things out. But then we can also start to audit our time, and we're also able to just check in with ourselves and just make sure that we stay on track for our future you, because future you is next year, y'all. It's next year, it's next month, it's next week, and we want to stay on track for her and making sure that she is happy with where she is, and she's happy or she's proud of you for the work that you've put in to get to where she is. So I appreciate every single one of you. You guys are amazing. I had my webinar on Friday. At the time of recording, it has not happened yet, but I would assume that it was wonderful, amazing, great. And it's still on YouTube. So if you are listening, you can go over to the YouTube channel and actually watch if you are trying to podcast. I honestly believe that this will help with anything, any type of content creation. So if you are a content creator of any kind or a business owner of any kind, I feel like this will help. So you can be on that podcast auditing, or not podcast auditing, but podcast webinar. I forgot like what I called it. Get your show together. That's what it's called. I cannot speak today, y'all. I cannot speak. But yeah, I did that on Friday, so you guys can check that out. I am going out of town. December is going to be super busy, but I'm excited because it's all good things. And yeah, I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, a wonderful rest of your week. Don't forget to follow me on all platforms: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, Apple, and I think that's it. I say all the things. Oh, like, rate, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And that is now the end to everything. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and I will talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.